What's up, boxing fans? Welcome back to Xicana Boxing on YouTube. We have a lot of boxing this week, so I think it's only fair that because it is March Women's History Month that we start with Estrada versus Yocasta Valle, and we start talking about the girls first because, rightfully so, let's bring some highlight to the girls. But before we start, please go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, and go ahead and send this to 3 of your friends that, you want to watch the card with this weekend, one of the cards with this weekend. So let's go. Now this card brought to you us by TopRank. This card is actually only on ESPN Plus, not on ESPN as far as I know. This fight should have been the main event, not only because it's Women's History Month, but because this is the only title fight in the card, if I'm not mistaken. And this should have been the main event because this, two badass women, badass style. But I do understand that because Oscar Valdez, is the one that brings butts into the seats, especially there in Arizona where the fight's going to take place. Maybe this is even better for the girls to get, more viewership when it comes to being in an Oscar Valdez undercard, because most people know that Oscar Valdez comes thrown down. But regardless, both of these girls are well known now. Denise Estrada, if you're in East LA, if you're in LA, she's from East LA. She's a legend here. Grew up boxing, she was 5 years old with her father as her trainer and still hasn't changed to this day. She started her career with Goldenboy Promotions and she seemed to have it pretty good there until she started complaining about pay and Oscar not necessarily paying her worth, especially after fighting in December of 2022, I believe, in San Antonio, Texas. She felt like she deserved to get paid more, and because she didn't seem to find an agreement with Oscar de la Hoya, she moved on to TopRank and is now fighting Yocasta Valle under the banner of TopRank, and Yocasta Valle under the banner of Goldenboy Promotions, which is why Sinisa claims that it's so personal, right? Since the press conference when they announced this fight, she was very fast to tell us that this was personal for her, and this is what Coach Gloria, who is trainers of Yocasta Valle, told me as to why that is.
I mean, at this point, it shouldn't be personal at this level. But if we take it back a few years back, I still consider a friend, but guess not, right? But Joe Estrada, which is her father, was a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine. We trained in the same gym. I helped him train all of his kids. He taught me to train my kids, my two daughters actually, Roxy and Sarah. I helped train Sinisa. I wasn't her trainer, but I worked with her a lot. I worked corners with her. And, that was years ago. People move on, they get their life, and I moved back I opened up my own gym. In this business, you grow, and you grow, and you can't look back.
Now, Yocasta Valle, who also at the initial press conference, told me that she didn't understand the animosity because she thought that it was women empowerment and she would be happy for her coach Gloria to get an opportunity to make it big as a woman in boxing. She says she should be happy, but doesn't understand the animosity. Regardless, she promises an upset and says that she understands that she, will be the non-favorite coming in, but she believes that her preparation with Coach Gloria is going to be the factor to defeat Denise Estrada, who they believe, doesn't have so much defense and is there to be hit. And I do agree with them in that aspect, in the way that this is going to be a barn burner, because both of these girls have styles that are, come forward explosive styles. And I do think that Yocasta Valle has improved a lot with Coach G. And Denise Estrada is just this competitive girl. It's really hard to picture this girl losing. And this is why this fight is such a big deal, because Sinisa is undefeated, right? And she went from Goldenboy to TopRank and is now fighting Yocasta, who, when I first met her, was at a Goldenboy card. She just showed up trying to say that she wanted to fight Denise Estrada. Back then, they both each had one belt. Now they both have two. So this is the perfect time to make the fight. And I think this fight's going to be the best fight of the night. The main event no se queda atrás, right? I know a lot of people feel like Oscar Valdez is coming back just to this, easy fight that he can just come back and have a winning record again, right? But not necessarily, because if you know Liam Wilson, I believe that's his name, He's the one that gave Navarrete a really tough fight before obviously getting knocked out himself, but he actually dropped Navarrete. And Navarrete was doing the whole veteran move of spitting out the mouthpiece when he was hurt to gain more time. So this kid is the one that hurt Navarrete, and even though he got in the 9th round, he did put on a great fight against Navarrete, and this is what makes the fight against Valdez, who, got dominated by Navarrete. This makes this fight, quite intriguing to see who's going to move forward. This is definitely a crossroads fight because they both have 2 losses in their record, and even though Valdez has never been knocked out, Wilson has, so I feel that's why I feel like Valdez definitely can catch him and get a knockout victory himself to get the crowd going and kind of get back to a winning streak. He does say that he's still interested very much in fighting the champions at 130, but because that fight with Navarrete, it was not competitive at all. If Navarrete wins his upcoming match, I don't see why there would be a rematch with that. And, I know TopRank just got Oshaki Foster, so I think that would be Oscar Valdez's best bet coming forward, coming back from the Losers Club. Now, moving on to Saturday here in Inglewood, Zurdo Ramirez will have a title shot, WBA Cruiserweight against Arson. This kid trains out of Abel Sanchez's gym in Big Bear, and I don't know much about the kid. I'm not going to lie. I've never seen him fight before. I'm not too updated on the cruiserweight division since Usyk left it and since the World Boxing Super Series passed. But seems to be, a legit champion contender. And I don't see why Zurdo can't just come up in here and shake up the cruiserweight division. Will it happen? I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with neither of these guys. If you are familiar with him or the cruiserweight division at all, let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen. This card's also going to have Alexis Rocha's return. As we know, he got knocked out by Santillán last summer at the same venue. Shit. Both Oscar Valdez and Alexis Rocha returning to the venues that they got their ass handed to them in the last bout. That's got to be hard, so I hand it to them. Good for them. Good for them. But yes, it's Alexis Rocha's return, and he's going to be fighting the guy that Virgil stopped in less than a round in January. So Lawson, I believe his name is. So let's see how he does with that. And who else is in that card? And we have Sandoval making his Golden Boy debut as well. So tune in to that. And subscribe, like I said, and share our content because correspondent Danny Duenas from Xicana Boxing is going to be covering ringside that night, March 30th, Inglewood on DAZN around 4 or 5. Tune in on DAZN. Prelims should start around 3 on YouTube. So definitely tune in to this fight if you want to check out Zurdo and check in, what Golden Boy got going on Saturday. Now, I'll personally be in Vegas for Tszyu versus Fundora. This card just is a whole roller coaster. Since it was first announced, we were all like, huh? Keith Thurman against Tszyu? Why 154, no belt? Why? What's happening? What is this, right? Nobody asked for this, but it's happening. But also we're yeah, I guess, But now with Keith Thurman, who seems que está hecho de mazapán, he's always getting injured, got injured again, is out of the fight, and now it seems like we got a better fight with Fundora now stepping up to fight Tszyu in the main event, now for the WBO and vacant WBC title. So back when he was fighting Keith Thurman, there was no belts on the line for Keith Thurman, but now that Fundora stepped up, there is 2 belts on the line, and Fundora, who was supposed to fight Bohachuk in the undercard, right now Bohachuk is fighting Brian Mendoza, who lost to Tszyu in his last fight, but beat Fundora in Fundora's last fight. Yeah, so it's going to be Brian Mendoza versus Serhii Bohachuk in the free portion of the Amazon Prime broadcast. The official card opener will be Lara's title shot, which honestly, Lara being middleweight champ at 2024, what is happening? But yes, his fight's the card opener, 154 championship. And then we also jump to Rolly Romero versus Isaac Pitbull Cruz. Honestly, that fight alone is going to be amazing as well, just because both guys are moved forward. We've seen all the shit that Rolly's been doing, his usual tactics when it comes to trash talking his opposition. And with both of these guys' styles, again, come forward, it's going to be a knockout. Like, it's going to be a knockout. I personally think that Rolly has a good chance of catching Pitbull coming in because, in my opinion, yes, I don't want to get jumped, but yeah, Pitbull did great against Tank, don't get me wrong. But also, Tank was fighting with one arm. And I just think that Tank would have gotten Cruz out of there had he been, fully capable in his abilities. But he wasn't. So I think that, after that, Cruz hasn't really had anything like amazing, outstanding in his performances. And I do think that he could have done like way better in his career following that momentum after Tank, but he didn't really like take advantage of that. So now I think that, I am rooting for him, right? Because as a Mexican and just like, he probably, the money would probably, they're both making money, but I just feel like moving forward, I think Pitbull, Cruz, I don't know, humble, that whole little thing. I'm rooting for Pitbull, Cruz, but I'm not counting Rolly out because Rolly, yes, call him a troll, call him fundamentally lacking, but he does have power, and power is a thing that Rolly seems to get things done with. So regardless of him losing the Tank, I think Pitbull's another fight, and because of their styles, I think Rolly has a better chance to pull off a knockout victory. Now the main event, Tszyu, Fundora. Fundora, like I said, lost to Brian Mendoza, was coming back already to a hard fight in Bohachuk because Bohachuk also hits hard, right? And even though he has had a knockout loss to Brandon Adams, this fight, I think Tszyu still wins. I think Tszyu still wins in devastating fashion. This one, I like both guys. I would like Fundora to win just because, in my opinion, he's more of a likable guy. Like, nothing against, no shade to Tszyu. He's also pretty funny, pretty likable guy, especially after, he came up for us Mexicans, right? He stood up for us when Keith Thurman was trying to say something. So I just like Fundora better because he's just so nice. He's a nice kid, but niceness doesn't win you any titles, and it definitely doesn't save you from pummeling. And Tszyu is just one of those guys that is relentless in the ring and he still has stuff to prove, but I do think that because he's more experienced in there than a younger Fundora, I think that Tszyu is going to win, and hopefully he gets Terrence Crawford or maybe Charlo for real this time. We don't know, but I am going to be covering that fight live from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. So go ahead and subscribe and follow me across social media so that you guys can keep up with that content as well. Now, this undercard's also stacked, right? We have a lot of talent coming up as well. Elijah Garcia. We have a lot of guys in the prelims that are definitely worth checking out. So again, if you have multiple screens or you got all these apps, go ahead and tune in. There's a lot of boxing this Saturday. And this one is pay-per-view, both on Amazon and on DAZN. So if you're going to buy the pay-per-view, you have your option. This past Tuesday, I also drove 2 hours there and back to Beverly Hills, sat in traffic, to go ask Canelo two questions. And Munguia 2 questions at their press conference in Beverly Hills. Now, the vibe I got the entire time was, wow, they were really trying to push the Mexican stuff here because it was a mariachi, right? Shout out to Nancy Rodriguez, PR extraordinaire, for getting that together. And they had the sarapes and the confetti with the sombreros on the table, and then they had fajitas, and it's like piñatas. It's like, I get it. We're Mexican, like. And to see Jaime Munguia walk down that red carpet, it was like, when that little kid finally gets invited to like play with the big kids. When you're really excited, like when you're performing at school or something, you see your mom sitting first row and you're like that was literally Jaime Munguia. Like, definitely good for him, enjoying the moment, even though he's Mexican. Canelo claimed he was not going to fight Mexicans, but yeah, here we are. But he was definitely giving like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here vibes, and very respectful, right? Canelo was in his whole I'm that bitch, been that bitch, still that bitch attitude. And what else is new? As soon as they shook hands, like, this was, to me, like, I wanted to put this up and be like, caption this, but I don't want to be a problematic person. But it's just a really weird picture. It's almost like Canelo's like, you're welcome, my child. Like, you're welcome. And Oscar de la Hoya was kind of right. This press conference was a little boring, you know, like, it's like very respectful, and I get it. Neither of these guys talk trash, but what I noticed is that not once did Jaime Munguia ever say that, like, I'm ready to be Canelo, or I'm going to be Canelo, or come fight night, you'll see me as a winner. Like, he's just talked about how grateful he felt about the opportunity, and that's it. Now, Munguia came first. I asked him, hey, like, you know, Freddie Roach has already tried to beat Canelo with other fighters. What do? You know, what are you going to do to bring Freddie Roach the victory against Canelo for once? And he joked and said, you know, third time's a charm, but yes, I'm very grateful for the opportunity. Thank you. Like, he didn't really elaborate or anything. So I was just like, okay. And when I asked him, you know, what he thought of fans thinking he had the perfect style for Canelo to counter him and put it into the fight early, he also said, you know, we'll see what happens on May 4th, blah, blah, blah. And like, he didn't really give me much. Once it was my turn to talk to Canelo, I asked him what he felt about fans not wanting him with PBC, and he gave me the most obvious answer. They pay him more, and he's gonna go with whoever he wants and pays him better. I also talked to Eddie and followed up and asked him about what he thought of fans not wanting, you know, them to be with PBC, which to what he answered that they can go anywhere, right? That they are open to also fighting in Saudi Arabia, which now kind of makes sense as to why Canelo was like saying, oh, I need 150 million or 200 million. It makes sense. Maybe they were like kind of, you know, throwing signs out there for the Saudis to pick that up on and be like, oh, we'll throw it, even though the Saudis already said, Canelo, no, we'll pay Benavidez to fight the winner of Bertobiev and Bivol. Not you, though. You be easy, though. So it looks like Canelo's not getting 150 or 200, which is fine because, like, if this fight was going to be in Saudi Arabia, then what's the point? Because I want to see it. I want to see it live, or I want to see it at night where it doesn't feel like weird for drinking. But the biggest takeaway was just that, yeah, let's not expect this fight. Let's not expect Canelo to ever want to fight Benavidez. And I hope that I'm wrong, right? Like, Canelo has been moody before about, like, us asking him to fight people. But he's always came through. So I'm hoping that this whole thing with, you know, Volstik being his sparring partner and not fighting David is going to, you know, give him, I don't know. I don't think it's courage. I agree with Robert Garcia that this is just Canelo being like, now you guys don't get shit because you guys talked about me. I think Canelo's just petty. Canelo is just petty. Canelo knows that he's going to make the same amount of money fighting fighter A or fighter Z. Both Eddie and Canelo also denied that any offer was ever sent to them by Benavidez's team. They even said that Benavidez wasn't even mentioned, that it was just Munguia and Charlos.
Somebody lies. Yeah. Now, I don't know who, but I'm telling you, somebody's lying. It's two completely different stories.
But anyway, that was it for this week's What I Missed / What Is Coming for this week. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, subscribe and share because I want to hit 10K. And I'm definitely making way more content now and I'm getting more interviews. So if you enjoy my content, go ahead and share it, like it, subscribe, and all of that, please. And I'll see you guys in the next one.